thanks for joining us. This is Soccer Talk with the Soul. I'm Adam Deal. I'm your host today. We're going to go over a lot of stuff, right? The Soul with a couple of monster wins this last weekend. We've got highlights there. We've also got a lot of highlights from the Confederates Cup that just got underway, so that coming up. But now to introduce our guests for this first segment, of course, President of the Albuquerque Soul, Ron Patel, on the far side, and then our insider, the man Dan Lodge, right next to me. This segment, World of Soccer, guys, we're going to go over some of those highlights in the Confederates Cup and talk a little bit of VAR. And if you don't know what that is, you're going to know here in just a moment, right, good or bad, or why it's being used at least right now. And this segment brought to you by Recarnation. Guys, we talk about the Confederates Cup, and what's fun to me is actually, and I always forget this, is we got international cups every summer. So I always ask myself, what am I going to do this summer? Like, what am I going to watch? You know, NBA just ended, and what am I going to watch? There's always an international event. Now the Confederates Cup, which traditionally is in the host country, that's going to be the World Cup next year. So this year in Russia, and so that just got underway, and so it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, Dan?
It is. You know, I mean, I think that, you know, for us fans who really follow the Premier League and you got that, you know, 12-week gap or so, it's nice to have an international tournament, and especially during transfer season, you get to see all these players that are linked to your teams, and you get to see some like youth players coming out and playing for the national team, so get some recognition as well. And I think some of these players in the Confederations Cup will be moving probably to the Premier League.
Ron?
So I went to the World Cup in 2006, and it was a life-changing experience. And I would love to go to Russia next year to see England and the United States play overseas. I'm just scared to death to go over there. But so I think this would be a good warm-up.
You wouldn't make the travel? You wouldn't go?
I'm a little worried about the Russian fans, to be honest. Look what happened in France in the Euros with the violence with Russian fans and English fans.
And it's not like wearing an England shirt will make it any safer for them.
It will not make it any safer.
But it's going to be rough almost anywhere, right, a little bit. I mean, even in Brazil, this last World Cup, which, I mean, it feels like the other day, and now we're talking about the next World Cup somehow. But, I mean, you know, with all the theft and, you know, just all kinds of stuff that was going on.
There's always going to be stuff, but it is. You know, for us soccer junkies, it's a great tournament to be able to see high-level soccer. We've seen some great games this week. I know we'll have some highlights coming up, and it's just great to see. And then teams putting in the good players too. You know, Ronaldo's playing for Portugal, and Mexico's got their stars out there, and New Zealand's got their stars out there too. Almost pulled a win this week. So,
well, let's get to some highlights, and we'll start with the second game in the Confederates Cup, as Russia won the first game, as traditionally host always gets the first game. And so Portugal versus Mexico, always interesting when you've got Cristiano Ronaldo and Chicharito
off the crossbar.
Ronaldo.
And guys, this is where we'll get into the conversation.
And it was in, right?
The goal counted, but then it was later reviewed, new rule, and they took it back. Did not count. And so there was actually a few goals that didn't count in this one, right? Look at this. Chicharito, Javier Hernandez with the header, and we're level at 1.
And the deflection,
guys, that's good.
It's going to be 2-1 Portugal, right? But the head off the inside of the post, and Mexico tied it up.
Hector Moreno, he's the hero to get the draw. Proves to be a very important draw, because who's going to come out of that group? Very interesting group, right, with Russia, and who knows who's going to come out now, because a big win just a moment ago for Portugal against Russia, right? Cristiano Ronaldo gets a goal, and of course he gets a goal, and so Portugal with 4 points, now Mexico with 4 points, and also Russia. So
yeah, it's actually funny, because if you look, we're just a couple of games in. Portugal's won a game. Well, if you look at the Euros, they did not win a single game in the group stage. They qualified in third and won the Euros.
And remember,
so, I mean, we're 2 games in, they've already won.
Which was a new
exactly, right? So I mean, a technicality got them through in the Euros, and they carried themselves through to the final.
A change to the format.
Depends how you look at it.
It's an Arsenal fan's perspective. I
don't like Ronaldo, right? I don't want him to win anything. So yeah, it's interesting. Portugal's looking good. Mexico's looking good.
Before we get to another highlight, we're going to say this, but I feel like it's fitting because of that game with the video review, right? And there was a few goals that was taken back. You saw that very first goal that was taken back, and they look at it, and there was an offsides. And how deep does the play go where they get to decide it's offsides? I just think there's a lot of work to go on this thing.
It seems like they're going back 5 minutes in the action. Was there any? That guy was picking his nose. I'm not for this. I think I'm for making the game better, but I don't know if this is really making the game better.
beg to differ. Right? I mean, I can look at things throughout history, right? I mean, if you look at 2006 losing in the Champions League final with Barcelona offsides, I mean, I think that's a prime example that any Arsenal fan will gladly track back 11 years to replace. But I mean, if you look at the last couple of seasons,
you can take
right?
England in the World Cup against Germany,
right? I mean, Diego Maradona. And I mean, there's so many huge things throughout
United
time.
States also. I mean, where do you go though with this video review? Do you remember the quarterfinals? The United States against Germany, a blatant handball in the last 5 minutes to give them a penalty to maybe drop. But where do you go with this?
I definitely think it has to be limited, right? I mean, I think that if we have to define some thing in place where it's going to be, only a certain amount of things. So we start trying to do offsides and this and that. It's just going to stop the game. And I think what everyone loves about soccer is the fluidity, right?
Exactly.
Constantly moving sport. But if it's
and I appreciate you backing up my thoughts.
If it's someone goes down in the box. Well, if you've already given a penalty, it makes no difference to turn around and review. If it's a goal, turn around and review. I mean, I would say that if we're getting into the started nitpicking into the actual play, I think that's going to be different. But I think if it's if the play is stopped, an extra 30 seconds to me, I'd rather turn around and say, okay, that was a blatant dive.
Right, but I don't want to be taking 4 or 5 minutes to decide.
That's the biggest piece of the game, and timing your run to be onside or offsides. And if you're tricky about it, and maybe you are a little bit offsides, but the linesman doesn't catch it, I think it's part of the way your run goes, even if you're offsides. And I think it's part of the game. Diving in the box, whether people like it or not, if you're smart about it and you sold it right, that's part of the game. If you sold the referee, you've sold yourself a PK. And Dan, you should know more than anybody about how you flop around.
You were a diver. What are you talking about? I was just thinking that in my head, thinking, yeah, I wouldn't support it because
this is ASL experience speaking.
I played with him. He dives all the time. Trust me.
This guy. All right, let's get into our next highlight. And this was later that day in Chile, taking on Cameroon, and it took a while to break it, right, for Chile.
It did. Vidal's been a great player for Bayern, and always
that was a goal, but they called it off.
Again, another one reviewed and retracted. I mean, I'm sure that's very close, and the human eye can miss that.
Look at that. I mean, that's why it shouldn't be reviewed, and that's a beautiful goal. And of course, it's Arturo Vidal in the 81st minute, so it's broke open, and then we go to extra time and then finish it off. Chile. The goal, Eduardo Vargas.
Yes.
So Chile with the 2-0. Guys, Chile's dangerous. I think they're the team to beat. They're going to play, we're filming this, and you're not going to see this, but they're going to play Germany. I'm curious about that one. Germany has a little bit of a younger team in this tournament. Germany did win, but they won in a tight one, 3-2 against Australia, right, which is a curious result.
They've got a good squad. I mean, they're set up very well. They're a good team, right? I mean, I wouldn't say they've got tons of huge stars, right? I mean, you've got Alexis Sanchez, you've got Vidal, you've got Vargas, who's debatably a star. But I would say that the way they play very well together. I mean, if you look at this game here, Alexis Sanchez wasn't playing, kind of holding an injury.
The last couple of
they have
Copa Americas, and they've proven it. I mean, it was penalties in the last tournament, but they've proven that they're a good team together. And the Germans, of course, are always the Germans, and they're
phenomenal.
Very, very well.
You guys remember that?
Team.
Yes, they are. Absolutely.
Their B squad can beat most A squads, right? I mean, it's kind of crazy to look at, except for maybe France. France's B squads.
Okay, so let's shift gears now. We'll stay away from the Confederates
to misery. Is that where you want to go? To misery for us Englishmen?
That's because that's what you guys have to deal with. England versus Scotland. Dan, I'll let you take this one.
Wow. We'll just skip to the 70th minute because
nothing
probably
happened.
fall asleep for the first 70, but Oxlade-Chamberlain, I mean, phenomenal, great season, breakthrough season.
This is the substitute that came on, right? Lee Griffith.
Yeah, Griffith, I mean, just what a free kick. And after this game, this one should have been saved in my opinion. Really would like to have been saved as well. England having to save ourselves against a team, quite frankly,
and the
we should have beaten.
Keeper actually had a great save right before this that came out before the equalizing goal.
But Harry Kane done what Harry Kane has done all season, right? I mean, he's scored, I don't know, it's like 29 goals in 31 games. Does it for England too. Despise the guy because he plays for Spurs, but he's definitely a finisher.
I want England to get your hopes up because, in 1 year
you
from
do
now,
not have to worry about that, Adam. I am always hopeful and then disappointed.
I know you will be in 1 year from now. You're going to be talking about, England has a chance. Here we come, England. Where you're going to talk about your.
Do you realize how many young stars we have?
Yeah.
From doing the show with me for a while now. I mean, I'm the eternal optimist for English football.
Yes.
The expectations now, though, have dropped after the Iceland loss in the Euros, going out 2-1 to just an incredible team. I have nothing but respect for Iceland. The expectations of the English fans have dropped. Would you?
I disagree.
I would, because
this happens all the time, though, guys. And then you're gonna find.
You got to realize that
we no longer think we're good.
You're talking to people over 30, right? So we've grown up our whole lives watching this team that has had these huge expectations and then blown it. So then you get to this stage and you're like, who knows, right? I mean, we've had all these big expectations, we've had all these stars, now you get these younger players coming in who have less expectations, and you think to yourself, maybe all those expectations was wrong with us, and now maybe these players can come and freely play, and then they just do exactly what England does every single international tournament.
It's my job to point out the defaults of England. Okay.
Now, why don't we have the highlights in the U20 World Cup here? Because we won the World Cup.
Right.
And the U20s are coming up through the ranks. The U20 World Cup.
That should be good for you because Dominic Solanke is moving from Chelsea to Liverpool.
Oh, excellent.
Okay, so speaking of moving, and we always do this with Dan just because his knowledge of this is just ridiculous.
We just give it to him.
Give us some transfer news or some transfer thoughts.
Man,
rumblings.
There's so much activity already going. I mean, everybody's linked with everyone. Realistic, if you look at the Premier League, you know, there's so much money coming in from the TV money that, you know, you saw the Pogba sale last year, and that was like mind-blowing, right? 90-some million. Well, now you're looking at, you got Kylian Mbappe from Monaco, who is, you know, rumored to have up to 140 million euro offer from Real Madrid, Paris Saint-Germain, Arsenal's in the chase, Man United, Man City. Every single big team is chasing this 18-year-old. He's phenomenal. And if you look at the way the market's gone, if you spent 100 million a day, could be worth 150 million next year, right? I mean, so it's like to judge the inflation is crazy, right? Because you guys looking at these like different.
What about Cristiano Ronaldo? What are you hearing? What do you think?
You know, honestly, he's got a tax scandal. He wants Real Madrid to pay for his tax scandal. Really don't. Right? I mean, Mourinho, I don't think is going to take him. I think he's still scoring goals. I don't think he's in his prime per se, although he's at his best season, right?
The Champions League.
Look at Zlatan, right? 35 years old and took the Premier League by storm. I don't think Ronaldo couldn't do it. I'm just thinking to myself, is Man United going to spend the money on a 32-year-old that they're going to have to spend to get Ronaldo?
How many years does he have? Does he have 1-2 years left?
He looks as sharp as ever right now.
He's like superhumanly fit, right? And if Zlatan can play till 35, I don't see Ronaldo not being able to play until he's 35, right? So, I mean, I would say you'd get 3 good years out of Ronaldo. But the thing is if you can buy an 18-year-old for the same price who has the potential to be that player, would you want him for 12 to 15 years or Ronaldo for 3 years?
After
right?
this season, I mean, there's just no doubt. I think he's still him, and it's him and Messi, and he proved it in the Champions League.
Yeah.
He's just phenomenal, classic finishes, as fast as he's been, as smart as he's ever been, and I would take the risk. I mean, you talk about an 18-year-old. I think an 18-year-old's a bigger risk.
Yeah, absolutely, potentially, right? But then you look at resale value, which I say what a lot of clubs do, because you can turn around and in 3 years, Ronaldo's 35, probably going to do what Zlatan do, is probably going to go to the LA Galaxy. When 5 years, Kylian Mbappe is going to be 23 years old, 3 years away from his prime. The way the market's going, he could be worth 350 million in 5 years, right?
So another name you think that might be making a move?
Well, Griezmann's not going anywhere, and I think that was a big one. I think the biggest thing right now is Lewandowski from Bayern Munich is rumored to be not happy. Chelsea has sent a text message to Diego Costa telling him he is no longer welcome. So now they're looking for a replacement. So they've been linked with Mbappe.
How do you know that?
Hey, that's the best way to break up with a chick, right? So. I think that Chelsea's going to heavily pursue them.
You also get dating advice from Dan Locke. Right. How lucky are you?
It's a 2-for-1 here, right?
Lover's lane.
So I think Chelsea, everyone in the Premier League, I mean, is making these big moves. Man City's already spent probably 150 million and is not stopping. I mean, and they've got a phenomenally young team, which is very scary. I'm worried for Arsenal not being in the Champions League spending money. You guys should be very happy with Salah and Van Dijk if you can get him, right?
So, if it's allowed.
Yeah, it's
been on, it's been off, it's been on, it's been off.
Well, you got these whole rules where you can't actually talk to a player without permission.
Yeah, can you go, for the viewers that don't know those rules, can you kind of go over?
Yeah, so I mean, when you're under contract with a team, another team cannot just approach a player about joining their team. It has to be approved by probably Football Association or the club itself. So, for example, Liverpool pursued Van Dijk. They got into conversations with him illegally, and then basically what they did is when Southampton turned around and said, okay, we're going to go to the FA and we're going to have you guys was reprimanded. Liverpool came back and said, hey, you know what, I'm sorry, we won't pursue him, and then Southampton kind of dropped it. So
you have to go to the girl's father for permission
pretty
to
much
ask for a night out at the movies.
Absolutely.
You guys have a lot of advice going on here, right? Jeez. Okay. We always appreciate Dan Lawler. He's the man. He's our insider. He knows all of it. Back in a moment, Lucas Cash. Who is he? You should know, but you'll find out here soon.
The Cash Man.
We wanted to support soccer as a whole. So when we saw the opportunity to try to create a home or a hub and support the Soul while doing it, we thought it'd be a great idea. When I saw what the Soul were doing, I thought, how can we bridge the gap and try to get the youth soccer involved with the Soul soccer and try to bring those things together and at the same time provide support to the Soul through things like watch parties and getting people excited about it. You'll find that there's a lot of people that relate to this game on an international basis, on a local basis, whether it's the MLS or just a team like the Soul that they can get involved with in their community and feel associated with and supported. We went to an RSL game and it was just mind-boggling how many fans were there, the type of support they had, and it was exciting. And I think that Albuquerque's the type of community that could probably support something like that if we could make it happen.